Hey folks, this is Jackie Zoe. We are going to be talking about phase 4, which is the audit. Finally, you're going to engage a CPA firm. I'm going to walk you through what to expect during that particular phase. So here's a bit of a refresher. So remember, SOC 2 is about governance, not quality. Phase 1 is scoping. Phase 2 is the readiness assessment, just making sure that everything within your scope matches the trust services criteria that SOC 2 is going to be evaluating. Closing those gaps by implementing the appropriate controls. And then, of course, once all of that is done, you are ready for audit time. So this is where you engage a CPA firm and provide what they're going to ask for. So here's what to expect upon audit time. These are the sequence of events. So you've got a kickoff meeting, you've got evidence requests, control walkthroughs, sampling and testing specific for type 2. They will provide observations versus exceptions. They will allow management response. And then, of course, they will provide the draft of their report. I'm going to walk through every single one of these so that you're just prepared, right? And you've got what you need to go through this smoothly. So the kickoff meeting is really where you meet with the audit firm and just confirm your scope, the audit period, timeline, and what the evidence delivery process is going to look like. So these are all things that you should already have prepared, ready to go, up to this phase 4. They will put together a list that is called the PBC list provided by clients. So this is the evidence, the samples that they're going to ask for to prove, right, that you say what you're doing, you do what you're saying you're doing, right? It will be established and requested upon the kickoff meeting, and that is when they will formally request the evidence. So from the PBC list, auditors are going to send this structured request mapped to the trust services criteria, things like policies, procedures, screenshots that they want, exported access listings, ticket samples, things of that sort. Type 2 is going to request samples across the audit period, whereas Type 1 is simply just a point in time. And that's why Type 1 doesn't take as long as Type 2. Once you have all of that and you're preparing all those things, control walkthroughs will then be conducted. So they will be 30 to 60 minute interview sessions across different functions: security, engineering, IT, HR, sometimes legal. And they're going to ask individuals to just walk through the processes live. As they're walking through this process live, they will have the ability to observe the configurations in the systems. They will be able to validate that the practice matches documentation. Underline here, practice matches documentation, not good practices. So what they're really testing for is, does the control that you say exist? Is it documented? Is it followed? And then is it consistently followed? Because if it's actually followed, then folks that are being interviewed are going to be able to speak to it. And is it consistently followed? Now that's done usually over time and is looking at more of the sample/evidence throughout the Type 2 audit period. So sampling and testing, again, this is Type 2 only. This is going to test operating effectiveness over time. So what we're really looking for is consistency. So your auditor is randomly going to select some samples. They're going to validate approvals, check timestamps. That's why the timestamps are important. Confirm segregation of duties and just ensure that recurring review occurs. So remember, within the scope in which you choose, all of that is free game. So they will just randomly select samples from whatever you claimed is within scope. Next, after all of that is done, then preliminary feedback is going to be provided before they write up the final report. So if there are no exceptions, it means controls are operating as stated. Minor exceptions, it could mean that a control failed once or twice, but it's not really systemic, or there's a significant deficiency. And this is when control design is flawed or not operating. So an example of that would be, you say you're doing something, but there's no evidence of it. Nobody can replicate it. Nobody's heard of it. Probably something you either shouldn't have put within scope, or B, right, you should have updated the documentation, right, to reflect reality. So that's the preliminary feedback. Now, some people might ask, hey, will I have an opportunity to respond or fix it? Not really, right? I would say don't really bank on the ability to quote unquote fix it, because if you do have exceptions or deficiencies, you will be able to provide remediation evidence or write a management response contextualizing that exception, but it will still be documented like history. So exception general categories are control not implemented, partially implemented, or failed tests. So The only recommendation I can give is just do a little bit of a stress test before you go into the audit, just to make sure that once these things go through, you're feeling good. So it could be like a mock test of some sort where you just pull some random samples. This is why executive sponsorship is so critical and so helpful in this big investment, because it costs money to engage an auditor, an auditing firm. And most importantly, right, when you do some of these samples, you're also testing whether or not operationally you are where you think you are. And again, that's a very important distinction for leadership to make, and a reality that they need to just firmly sit in so they know where they can improve. So after all that's said and done, field work is complete, and field work is all the stuff that auditors need to do to collect information. Expect about 2 to 4 weeks post completion of that field work to have the report drafted. What will typically extend the timeline is if there are missing samples. So if they asked for one, you can't produce it, you got to produce it. That will extend the timeline. There are clarifications that need to be made. What does this mean? What exactly did you do here, right? Retesting results is another one. If there are significant exceptions or maybe disagreements about the severity, so that's management response, that will extend that timeline. And of course, if this is your first time doing a SOC 2 audit, it'll just take a little longer because the auditor is just getting familiar with your processes and controls. So remember, SOC 2 is about governance, not quality. And these are the things that your auditors truly want to know. Are you doing what you are saying you're doing? And that's really it. And can you prove it, right? It's about consistency and not sophistication. Over time, the expectation is you get better, you get more mature, because the more mature you are, the less operational burden it is for you to do good stuff. And that's really what you should be thinking about. So thank you again. We know what it takes. We want to be your partners in security. If this is a journey that you're looking to take or engage in, we want to help you. And if quality is something that you're concerned about and you want to better understand what those trade-offs are, you don't want to just do a checkbox, right, to hit your SOC 2 report today. You want to be able to hit it every single day and eventually think about leveling up. If you want to go international or if you want to engage with larger enterprise customers, reach out to us, right? That's what we specialize in. So thank you for watching all of this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, post in the comments below, have a conversation. But SOC 2 should not be difficult. And our goal is to make this as clear and plain as possible on what is expected and what you need to do, because this is the first step into maturing, right, your practices from an operational standpoint and winning bigger deals. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. Win big deals. So thanks a whole bunch. Bye.